This is 2OF Entertainment.
Do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business.
All right, welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, various members and guests.
Yes.
We've got
Good to be here, Michael.
all right. We've got the crew. Sans Steven, who is out gallivanting around New York City this week. Good for him.
Yeah, terrorising old ladies, I think, and going, trying to find a retirement home for himself. I think.
Par for the course.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Nick. We've got John. We've got David. Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while.
Thank
Good to see you.
Yeah, rumors of my death were greatly exaggerated.
Greatly. Glad you're back. Well, look, we've got a big show today because John came up with this excellent topic around employee-owned businesses, which it's been around for 30, 40 years as a trend, but it is picking up steam, especially from the work that I've read from the National Center for Employee Ownership. And so, John, we're very excited about this topic. Very good.
Yeah, look, it's it's been around, as you said, for a long time. But I was watching 60 Minutes, and they had this piece where a private equity firm called KKR, which is one of the oldest ones and biggest ones, and one of the partners there decided, I don't know how long ago, but let's just call it a couple of years, maybe 5 or 10 years, that it would be good business to when they acquired a new firm, to offer the employees part ownership. Now they never discussed the percentage, so I never got to that detail, but the employees were all excited, and obviously they, instead of not showing up some days, they probably showed up every day, knowing that if the firm did well, eventually maybe they would get some kind of a payout, and so it's a good carrot system. Now in the piece, KKR bought this. I'm not sure what kind of business it was, but it was in the middle of Illinois, and it was in sort of, very isolated. They're their only employer. They bought the firm for $700 million. I think it was an Amish founder, so a lot of money.
That was the Overhead Doors Company.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And they did the employee ownership. People were sort of skeptical, and but eventually, as all private equity firms do, they sell it, and they sold it for, I think the number was $7 billion. And
it was a tenfold return.
Tenfold return. Yeah. Now the employees, some of them, depending on seniority, got between 10, 20, maybe about $120,000, and they were all delighted.
Yep. Well, especially when you consider, median household incomes in the United States are half that, or if that.
Now, of course, if you probably add it all up, it doesn't get to a lot of money, given that they made 10 times their money, from 7 to 700 to 7 to something like 7 billion. So, I think usually I'll take this example as a proxy for others, that the percentage ownership usually is small, but as you say, the household medium income in the U.S. is I don't know, $70,000-$80,000, some crazy low number. So if somebody some firm, the employee gives you, anything close to that, it's, it can be life changing, but I think it's a little, in this case, it seemed a little stingy, but well, I guess better than nothing.
That might be the issue there, because if I was reading the Financial Times in relation to this idea that it was actually referenced in one of the Wharton articles on employee ownership, is that the issue in recent times, if you talk about since the 70s, of course, wages have not gone up with inflation, and so the middle class and the poor are being completely squeezed. But it's gotten particularly bad in the past few years, where the top 1%, of course, have outsized gains. And the Financial Times article talked about how, without redistributing gains in some way, and maybe it's employee ownership is part of the answer, the quote is, the UK and the US will remain poor societies with pockets of rich people.
Yeah.
Something's got to change and something's got to give.
Well, you mentioned that, I think, before we came on, and surprise, surprise. That's all I can say is regarding that. I mean, the capitalists among us would say, well, the people who are the only risk that the people have is the company no longer existing, and it's not their money, and so therefore there is not an element of risk related to that, financial risk, and so therefore there's not there should not be a large amount of financial reward connected to that. But it depends really on how they put it together. I mean, is it employee owned? I mean, is it a cooperative? Are the people running it taking on a stewardship? In other words, they literally, just guiding the company towards more and more profit, and the employees will get a percentage as it goes forward. I mean, there are lots of variants of it. Certainly in the UK, the most famous one, I think, is the John Lewis partnership, which is a department store, and their staff retention is incredibly high, because people are invested in the company where they work. But let's say you work 30 years for somewhere and they get $100,000 when you're finished. I mean, really, and your salary,
right?
Years.
Well,
I mean, is that the capitalist? Sorry, is that the capitalist argument then, that they took no risk, so therefore there's no financial reward? Sorry, Nick, you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a couple of different aspects to this. I mean, if you take a step back, the bottom line is like, why is it being done? And I think for all the points you just made, Dave, about the fact that the person hasn't put any risk in, they haven't put any financial sort of risk on themselves in there, is one side, and you're looking very much from an ownership point of view. From an ownership point of view, you haven't put any skin in the game. I call it skin in the game. You haven't put any skin in the game. You haven't taken the risk, and obviously then, strategically wise, was there something that you were going to do anyway? So, on one level, it's kind of like you're an employee, you get paid your salary, and you kind of come in, you go out, you get paid your, hopefully everybody's got some kind of retirement fund, and you get a bit of a handshake at the end and say, well, good luck and enjoy the beach, or enjoy wherever you end up. I think that, so then employee ownership becomes a positive no matter what. So if that's your baseline, I know it's not great to start from a baseline, but if that's your baseline, anything above that is a positive move. But more so, I think the big, Ricardo Semler did this a number of years ago, where he changed the I think a South American shipping company, where he took over from his dad, and he literally changed the whole company structure to the point where it was people owned. He took a whole different view on that, and effectively subdivided the company and made little mini companies out of that, supplying the main mother company, as far as I read it. And the principle there, and we do it at Nucleus as well, is the fact that you provide ownership to those who can support and help the business grow. And BEE in South Africa, which is broad-based Black economic empowerment, is part of what that was supposed to do, where you bring people in and you help them sort of grow. Obviously, BEE has a slightly different aspect to it, where they're trying to bring in more, to try and rectify the issues of the past. But in this particular case, you've got this ideology of the fact that a person who just works in the team will just get their salary and leave. The monthly or the annual payouts of the dividends of the company, obviously, then as soon as you're an owner, get paid out, and you've got a little bit more money coming out of that. So, initially there's this idea of the fact that annually, hopefully, if you all work greatly and markets go well, you can get some money. So already annually, there should be some kind of benefit to that. And then obviously, I think John spoke about a unicorn where you get 10 times you come in at X and you get 10 times your payout. And technically, anybody who didn't put any money in, 120K that they put in or the 120K that they get out is 100,000% more than what they put in, because they haven't put anything in other than the work.
Well, I want to, you bring that up. That's a good point around, capitalists saying, well, they didn't take on any risk because they didn't put in any capital.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be a baseline acknowledgement that they did take some risk because they're sacrificing their time for the company. They're giving their time, like everybody, but they're giving their time and their energy toward the company, and that baseline contribution, that baseline effort should net some baseline payout or a benefit from the profits of the company. And it goes into the employee ownership model that David was bringing up. Is it a trust? Is it an employee stock ownership plan where these ESOPs where it's almost like a retirement plan using stock option or using actual stock? Or is it a cooperative which is what I think people traditionally think of as employee owned, which is where the employees directly, almost democratically, influence the direction of the company, which actually those cooperatives statistically, according to this National Center of employee owned companies, says is actually the minority now. There are thousands of companies with more than 1,000 employees that are employee owned, including Publix, which owns grocery stores in the southern part of the United States, and they've got 250,000 employees who are all participating in this employee ownership model. So there, that's the other side of it.
In Holland, for instance, if you want to have, they call it Arbeid, Kennis and Kracht. So that's work, knowledge, and power. So I suppose that's a skill set. I suppose roughly if you translate the three, you can bring that into a business as your share. If you don't have money, and so I said it was the capitalist point of view that would look at it, say, as Nick said, no financial skin in the game.
Right.
In the game, and so therefore you don't get any financial reward the other side. But a worker would say, hey, what about my knowledge? Mm-hmm. What about my input? Mm-hmm. What's that worth to you? If I'm not there, you've got the greatest idea ever, but if I don't truck up, pull that lever and ring that bell, it doesn't happen.
I mean, as a pure capitalist, I'd argue the fact that I pay your salary for that. But I just want to highlight the fact that this is not my belief, though, because I actually want to come to what I purely believe. But as a pure owner capitalist, I'd say,
Nick, before you go back to, I just want to include John again, because he made a wonderful sweeping statement. He said, "Oh, I think that's a bit stingy." So the thing is, John, so what does not stingy mean to you then? Before we get on.
Well, look, it's a tricky thing, but because you bring up the point, if somebody brings $1 billion and starts a business, it's what's the right formula? Do you give employees 10% of the company right off the bat? Now,
Yeah, but that's jam tomorrow, then, isn't it? Some people would say.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you could structure it. I say it's a little stingy because they bought it for 700, they sold it for 7 billion. let's just say it was a 5-year, run, and okay, I don't know if they didn't go into the details whether every year they got a dividend if the company was profitable. So we don't know that. So you can structure it all sorts of ways. It's not like you were alluding that okay, you work 30 years and then you get a payout at the end. But if you get, if it's real ownership, and the company is profitable, there's a dividend technically that can be had, and that's a pretty good carrot reward. So I think
so CHI through the program from 2015 to 2022, they did receive dividends.
Yeah.
Not a huge amount, but they did receive about $10,000 in dividends.
Yeah, so I mean
each.
That's not bad when you think if they're making 70, and you get 10 grand, that's a decent payout, and it gives you some incentive to be a good employee. I mean, it's
well, there's a lot of arguments to say actually that there's quantitative and quantitative research that says that actually these employee-owned enterprises are, of course, better for the employees than non-employee-owned enterprises in terms of fewer layoffs, better wages, better retirement packages, but also higher productivity in some cases, and higher employee satisfaction, which leads to better revenue per employee, higher productivity per employee.
The one thing, though, is that this is not a golden ticket, because there are. I remember, I don't know the name now, but there are cases where the business fails and they were 100% owned by employees. So there's no guarantee, but it's like any other business.
No, and Stavros, the KKR partner, he said that. He said it doesn't. You still need to work. You still need to make it work.
You still have to have a good business,
Yeah.
So, but
actually,
there's potential for upside.
I'm connected to the local cooperative, which is a small grocery store co-op in my area, and if you don't have we're going through a transition period of figuring out and improving our financial state and our business planning and our mission, vision, and values statements, and you still need that foundational work to build a business when you're doing that, despite it's not guaranteed.
On behalf of Nick, because I cut him off halfway through sentence, Nick, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think the principle of so from a capitalist point of view, you kind of go, yeah, well, if you haven't put skin in the game, then you shouldn't get the payouts. From my personal belief is the fact that when you, for all the reasons that we've kind of started putting together now, the more leadership-driven businesses pull the team into it. I mean, from a base point of view, is the fact that the team then actually supports the business and is invested in the business. So it's not just, because very often you chat to people and they're like, management's making stupid decisions and management doesn't know what they're doing. And it's all about the big boys at the top. And it's like, well, come stand next to us. Let's make this decision together. And as much as what that is difficult, because as leadership, you now have to take the general populace into it. And obviously, the larger the business, the more difficult it gets, because now you suddenly have a lot more people to make decisions. And, everybody's got the way that it should happen. But immediately you can see how the psychology of the team members change. Mm-hmm. And to my point, it's not a golden ticket. It's not the silver bullet that's going to fix everything, but it certainly changes how much people put into the business as an ownership perspective. But I think a large portion is also due to leadership. So is leadership just doing it as a manipulation tool, or is leadership doing it because it actually adds value to the people? And because if that happens, then leadership's got a different driver for it, where yes, it's to help. It's truly to help, and not just a manipulation tool to get them to work harder so that they get more output. I think that's really where that turning point comes in, Michael. To your point, is that it's not a silver bullet, But if you do it for the right reasons, you're prepped for even higher success.
You've got a real issue then as management, right? Because if it is a democratic decision,
well, that's more of the cooperative. They're not all like that. Let's just be clear. They're not all like that.
But if it is purely democratic, right? So each department, they have somebody that they speak to on their behalf. They then bring it up to the next level, and then that's thrown into the group as a democratic decision. And as management, you have to be very strong to say, okay, well, I'll accept that. Not strong. No, I'm going to reject it. But no, I'm going to be really strong and accept it, because it may be that they've found the ultimate answer to the ultimate problem, to the ultimate product that's going to make everybody mega rich, or it might be the stupidest idea ever. And where does that bring you all? So it's there are pluses and minuses to it.
Well, the structure, it all depends. As Michael said, the structure. Just because you have ownership doesn't mean you have a voice. You might have somebody that represents the workers at the maybe at the board level, kind of like in Germany, like that they have the workers' council.
Which is very very important and has been very successful.
Yeah,
in a lot of German companies.
But it's not. So the structure determines a lot. But in general, I would say that just because you have ownership doesn't mean you're going to have a voice. You'll have some representation, but it's a business is not a democracy, right? It's look, a bunch of people, or some enterprise puts a bunch of money capital, and they start a business. They hire employees. Okay, and maybe at the beginning, they say, okay, we'll structure it where we give employees, I don't know, say 15% of the company, and you'll get some voice representation, and if the business is profitable above a certain number, we'll all get a dividend. There's lots of ways to do it, but
I think my personal opinion is, and having read Ricardo Semler's book called Maverick, and put some of those principles into place in our company, is the fact that to answer your point, John, or at least my experience on your point, is that you got to go all in. So if you and Dave, you started talking about that, is that if you have ownership, it's not just a piece of paper. Like, hey, listen, you own 5% of the company. Well done, that's cool, but just shut up. We don't want to hear from you ever until we go, hey, listen, we've got dividends. Here's a couple of dollars. It's a case of, and obviously there's a hierarchy in the business. So there's ownership, and then there's management structure. So from normal operation versus ownership. But at the same time, if it's done holistically and globally for the people, and the business is true. So we're looking at it from a capitalist point of view, saying that the business is purely a money-making machine. I look at a business as a vehicle through which people can make money and grow and become effectively better people. And that's one of the reasons why we have, particularly our company, have ownership in the business, because that way they become part of the process and they can grow. So I think to John, to your point, my personal opinion is, or my personal experience is, if you're all in, everybody also makes decisions based on where the business is going, and at the very least knows where the business is going, so they can have comment on it. And Dave, to your point, that then helps with it saying, hey, listen, I kind of see this happening in the marketplace. Have you looked at that? And what about this? And what about that? Ultimately, someone has to make the decision, and that's why you've got the MD, you've got your management structure, etc. And operationally, they've got to make decisions. But when it comes to strategy of the company and where it's actually going, ownership then becomes quite critical. And I believe that has to have and Ricardo's experience as well, is the fact that when you do that, your business is so much more profitable.
Sorry, John.
No, I was going to say, yeah, but if employees have 10% of the company, at some, it can't be that it's we have a vote on every decision and right. I mean, the idea is, what's interesting is that now I'm going to take the other side, is that it takes for you to have ownership to actually do the job right. Right? Let's face it. A lot of people just do the bare minimum to get by, collect the check,
Yeah.
out the door. So it makes a lot of sense if I make you have some skin in the game, even though you don't put capital, but you actually do your job, and maybe you do it a little better, and maybe you won't be lazy, and you'll come up with new ideas that help the company. Uh,
Well, a
and
lot of
then,
these schemes have a time frame built in, so you
yeah,
can't just jump in, get stock or whatever. Maybe sometimes you have to work for a year or 2 years, and then you can have a little piece of the action. Moving on from there, so you make your commitment to the cause, to the crusade that the company's on,
Yeah.
and you're rewarded for that, because let's face it, even you know, that churn costs so much money. The churn of people going in and out.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, that's
It's a huge cost. It's always under the line, so you don't always. Everybody else doesn't always see it, but just in time, in effort, and also in capital, if you have to send people to a third party to be retrained, etc., etc.
right.
That just slows the business down. So retention's really important.
yeah,
Well, what do they say? Retention is the new recruitment, because there's so much, at least in the United States, there is so much movement happening, especially because people are looking at least in 2024, people who switch jobs, their incomes go up 10% or more than versus people who stick around and wait for an increase.
Yeah. Yeah, but what sort of companies are they flipping from? If you're in a sales company and you're reasonably successful, and you
Mm-hmm.
go to another sales company and you're reasonably successful, you know, that's I think slightly less, or a service. I'm going to be awful now and say a more service orientated company than
Mm,
if somebody's trained you up to do it, that needs a particular skill set, and then
right.
you start to flip from one company to another. I mean, but at the end of the day, if all you have to bring to the game is you, and you're bloody good at what you do, then if you want me, you pay for me. That's the other
Yeah.
way. Are we moving towards that? Move over capitalists, here come the workers.
Yeah, the thing is that in a world where there is no scarcity of employees, the power that you have to say, to get a better wage or a better salary, is not it's not that easy, right?
Yeah,
Depending, it really as I would say, well, anything that's specialized obviously is going to get you a higher payout. So it all depends on the situation. But the employee ownership, is a good, as the piece alluded, it's a good business move. As you say, uh, retention is really high because you got a good incentives. So it's good for business,
yeah,
and maybe it's good for the workers too, because you go to work with a different attitude. It's not the 9 to 5, and it just sort of changes the psychological dynamic.
yeah.
yeah. People do
I,
say
I
they're a lot
think, John.
prouder of the companies they work
Yeah,
for if they think that
yeah,
they're part of it. Sorry,
yes,
Nick, I jumped in again.
No, 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 no. We just took together, John. I think the point you raised there is quite a good one, and that Dave, you alluded to earlier again, is the fact that certain people will just come in, get their check, and go home. And so the employee sort of benefit there, or at least employee structure there. Yeah, it's a difficult one, because when you look at it on that way, it's kind of like those who just come in, do their job, and leave, and they get then potential payout, is then really where it comes down to that line of, the business owner or someone put money in and has now sort of created this machine that is the company. And those who just literally come in, get their check, and they clock in at 9:05 and they clock out at 5 to 4, and they just there for that, and they do the bare minimum. Those aren't really the people who, in my opinion, should partake in the company ownership, because at the end of the day, those aren't the people that will drive the company forward. In larger companies, I do understand it's a lot more difficult because you've got 1,000 people. How do you manage who becomes part of that or not? And then it's more global.
For a lot of companies, they put a time period in that. So
Yeah.
they have a chance
after you're there for a year or something.
Yeah, to assess you. But I was just wondering, gentlemen, actually, while we're talking to this, it seems to be very much of a, this we must retain good quality people. Seems to be very much a Western problem, because there are more old people now than there ever were, and less younger people that are supporting us, and that's not necessarily the case in India or in China. Or in other places. So is retention a Western problem? Job hopping and trying to hold on to the best.
Well, before we get into that, David, do we have the Bandicoot advertisement?
We do, because I didn't run it today because I'm.
Let's run it today.
So
because I got some news after the break.
Okay, we'll go to do that.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. Yeah, so the news is, as you know, Bandicoot is an online course for people who aspire to be remote workers, but we also are using the company to help rural communities, which is where I live in upstate New York, participate in the modern economy. And so what we did for those who don't have reliable internet access is we bought a building in Salem, New York, to be our county's first technology hub, where we will have people taking the course and co-working and participating in the local economy as well as the global digital economy. And that's a very big and exciting milestone in the Bandicoot story.
Sounds good.
Very
Congratulations. Cool. So where people can work there, I take it, or work from the building, and they'll have a good internet connection from the building.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. There's still a lot of, unfortunately, in rural places in the United States, still internet, broadband internet penetration is still pretty low relative to urban areas, and it's, we really want to make sure that people in rural communities, and we want this to be a model that we can replicate in other rural communities, should have the opportunity to participate in the modern economy, and should have the opportunity to benefit from that. So. We're working on it.
All right.
Yeah, we're lucky in Holland. We got, it's they have a history of cable TV, so all the cables and everything, all the infrastructure was already there. Mm-hmm. They just bolted on the internet and whacked it on top of your television subscription bill. So yeah.
Nice.
So not a problem. There are places. We were on holiday. We were in England a couple of weeks ago, and you go to certain places, and you just think, "What? I've only got one bar." You think, "What sort of third world country am I in now?" But that's the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
We won't even ask Nick because he doesn't always have electricity. So
yeah,
we literally haven't had one day without load shedding for more than a month. Guys,
so let's be real. Okay? Nothing related to the election, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Thank you, Michael. Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, there's cynics among us. Cynics among us.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so look,
cynics, David. It's not even cynics. You can see the track record. World Cup rugby, no load shedding. Elections, no load shedding. It's funny that.
Right.
That works. Well, look, there's going back to the topic of employee ownership. I mean, I'm looking at the list of the top 100 companies in the United States that are employee owned, and these have been around for. I mean, the largest one is the Public supermarkets in the South, with 250,000 employees. But also there's a bunch of supermarkets here with tens of thousands of employees. There's architectural and engineering companies from the 80s and 90s.
Can I be cynical and say that they probably the supermarkets only did it because it was a better way to stop people from stealing out of the supermarkets is to make them all employee owned.
Well, then they'll take the stuff and say, "Hey, it's mine. I can take it."
Yeah. Sorry,
Nice
Michael.
view,
So
man.
architectural
No, he's got it.
bureaus. Yeah.
No, you've got it. No, you know, it's a fair point. Yeah, a lot of engineering groups, environmental consulting groups. But yeah, there's a lot of companies that are doing.
Are these again people that really need dedicated employees with good skill sets? So it's another way of sort of keeping them in the loop by giving them a piece of the pie.
I mean, it's a possibility. Some of these are very specialized: hospital and healthcare, engineering design firms, construction business, furniture manufacturing. I mean, there's a lot of skills involved in that.
Yeah.
I think it boils down to leadership, Dave. And again, I think most people see the value in trying to retain people, but again, it's a manipulative strategy. And if it's my personal experience and belief is that if it's a manipulative, can I speak English?
Well, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah, well, obviously not. If it's a manipulative strategy, it's not gonna see the benefits that you want. If it's really put in place because of the benefit that it provides everybody as a whole, then I think it does come out. But I mean, then you've got all the other aspects to a business: environment, product, go to market, and then obviously what the outside markets are doing as well to it. So it's really difficult to put these all into nice clean bins, or at least nice channels.
Right.
But I think my personal opinion is.
His personal opinion was, let's pay the electricity bill.
That's right. We need to do that. Yeah. The Google stopped running. Yeah.
Do you remember, I think I can remember Nick saying we haven't had any power outages, but there you go.
He just got him.
Guys, shall we move across to Lost and Found in the meantime, and then see?
Let's take the step. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found, uncovering dollar winners and losers, where we discuss dollars lost and dollars gained by various companies and projects.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right, John, you got something for us?
Okay, so in New York, they arrested about 6 or 7 airline stewardesses, flight attendants, male and female, and they were money laundering drug money from New York to the Dominican Republic. And apparently they were doing it for quite a few years, and they finally got caught. And they said it was about 8 million, but I think it must have been a hell of a lot more than 8 million. And so they used the security, I guess, privilege that flight attendants and air crew have to push this money through, customs. So they finally got caught. So it was a good run for them, and it's a money gained for, I guess, the government, but lots of dough lost for them. So that's my
jail time isn't fun.
Yeah.
So
they can get 15 to 20 years. Some of them,
So is that a lost dollar then, literally, or a found dollar for all the money they were smoggling?
Yeah, I think it's a lost dollar. Lost dollar for those flight attendants.
Okay, lost dollar it is then.
Yeah. Well, look, I've got another lost dollar for you. This is related to one of my favorite companies, Apple. Unfortunately, so Apple since the 70s has been including Apple stickers when you buy an Apple product.
Yes.
The little Apple sticker. Yes. And
So
there are
what were
rumors
you
that
supposed to do? What were you
yeah,
supposed to do with the Apple sticker then?
you got to put them on your car. You got to put them. I put
Okay,
one on my
okay.
notebook. You got to put them
Ah,
around. You got to show them
put 'em
off.
around.
Yeah.
You got to show
Okay.
them off. But the iPad Pro and iPad Air will not include Apple stickers, and so under the guise of removing plastic for the environment, the M3 MacBook Air did have stickers in the box, but it is yet to be seen whether the new iPhone 16 will have stickers in the box. So this might be the end of an era of Apple stickers in boxes.
Oh.
Okay. So
Wow.
for the environment, then that's actually for the
Oh,
environment.
there you go. It's a
It's
win for
Less
the environment.
garbage. Yeah.
so, but are you crying into your beer over this, or are you rejoicing for the environment, Michael?
Oh no, it's definitely a crying into the beer. I mean, I don't think the small stickers in the Apple boxes are what we have to worry about in the environmental situation. Just saying.
Just so it's technically a
Yeah.
lost dollar.
Lost.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's up to you, David. Take us home.
Oh well, there are two things really. Oh, there was only going to be one, but having my hair cut this morning changed it a little bit. So, but anyway, the first one, because I've been a lifelong Ipswich Town Football Club supporter, and we've just gone back into we came second in the league this year, and we're now going to be promoted into the Premiership, which is the top soccer league in the UK. Wow. The year before we were in a league below, so we won that. So we've come right up in 2 seasons, and now straight back into the Premiership. It's been 22 years since we've been in the Premiership, and they've managed to build a squad to come second then in the Championship, because Championship is the leapfrog league into the Premiership. The Ipswich Town have built a squad for £15 million. 15 million pounds. Wow. Which is, as John knows, is nothing. Beer money. Yeah. Nothing. So for me, great. I've been driving everybody crazy, including Annette. She said, "Oh my God, don't talk about Ipswich Town Football Club anymore." But for me, most definitely, a found dollar because of the success I've had with virtually no money, and strangely enough, they have an American owner. Which has helped them through this last 18 months to 2-year period, and they've just got some more capital coming from an American investment company. So again, the Americans are investing into UK soccer companies, soccer teams, and certainly going into the Premiership. Whether or not we'll stay there are in the hands of the soccer gods. So that for me was most definitely, we're going to do it again for Ipswich Town Football Club.
Okay.
Found.
All right.
Okay.
Impressive.
Now, but that wasn't the one that I was going to go with, because the one I wanted to go with, and I had this lined up anyway for last week, but I wasn't on the show. It's a company called Human Material Loop, and you know me, I like all this green stuff. And basically, what they're doing is they're making new fabrics from human hair, because that human hair is one of the few products which is available for free everywhere, completely environmentally friendly. And what they're doing is they've cut deals with lots of hair salons where they've taken the raw material, the hair that's been cut, which would have been wasted, would have been burnt, and they're doing it with some textile companies here in Holland, where they're cleaning the hair, taking out all the impurities and everything else, and they're using it to make new forms of textiles based on these fabrics. So if the company itself is called New Human Loop, we'll try and put that link in there under the show as well. But we know that for hair salons, hair that's been cut is a big issue. They have to cost them a lot of money to get rid of it. And a bit like, people who are in coffee shops who didn't know what to do with all the filtered coffee grains that they now, grow mushrooms on, etc., etc. Somebody's come along, worked out what to do with this hair, They're going to reuse it. And hey, for me, that has to be
Yes.
a
Yeah,
$1 because the potential is enormous. Absolutely.
Yeah, the potential is enormous among the market of people who don't mind wearing other people's human hair on their bodies. That's
Hey,
but
we
how would you
have
know?
sheep's hair
Yeah.
on our bodies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sheep's hair is okay.
Yeah, but how would you know? You're wearing a fabric.
Yeah.
Do you when you go to your local, you order it on Amazon or wherever you get your clothing from, you don't say, "Oh, tell me where all that fur, where all that wool came from, all that fabric came from." That's a question you don't ask.
Well, because we don't have to. I mean, now we have to ask.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask.
Well,
Did it come from a
Dutch hair?
human? Did it come from a human?
Is that Dutch hair or is it Chinese hair?
It's starting here in Holland. They definitely say because they've developed this technique, because hair itself obviously is full of impurities. A lot of it, certainly because a lot of hair, big volume hair comes from ladies' hairdressers. So there's a lot of chemicals that get used for dyeing and everything else. So they found a way of making this stuff clean and reusable, and they're making fabrics out of it. Happy days!
Nice.
I wish I'd have thought of it. I can say that, but what do I know?
Get ready to wear human hair.
Yeah.
Get ready to wear human hair. Yeah, and on that blockbuster.
Yes, that's right. All right.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. So remember, next week, first of all, don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Leave your comments. Let us know what you want to talk about, because next week we've got Jeff Dunkel, the CEO of Optane Health, which is an AI-driven health assessment company. So we're going back to the topic that we talked about last week, which is AI in healthcare, this time with an expert in the field, Jeff Dunkel.
All right.
Well, yeah, on my behalf, thank you very much. It's great to come back on the show after quite a while. On behalf of Nick, who has disappeared into the darkness, let's hope he's with us next week.
That's
And
right.
I think the message from this show, Michael, if I could just close it on your behalf,
Yeah, sure.
don't make predictions about power outages.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Don't do it. All right.
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found.
Go for it.